Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to my interview program. And today I have a very wonderful guest speaker, my old friend of mine, Sylvie Lee from Canada. Hi, Sylvie.
Good morning, Takeshi. How are you doing? And good morning, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure.
Very early in the morning there, right? Here it's
Well,
10.
as you can see, I'm calling you from Ottawa. This is the picture behind us. It's the
Mhm.
Parliament Hill of Ottawa, the capital city of Canada. And right now it is about 9:15 in
Mhm.
the morning. Yes.
Yes, and that's a very good picture behind you. Is what is it?
So this is the Parliament building of Ottawa. It's where it's a nerve, it's the center, the political center of the Canadian the country, Canada.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this one is what we call the federal heart
Mhm.
of political heart of the country. And then we have a different provincial um, government too.
Mhm. All right. So let's begin our program with your self-introduction, maybe, including how we got acquainted with each other and things like that. Can you start?
Absolutely. So, my goodness, if I am revealing how many years Takeshi and I know each other, it will reveal our age. So, Takeshi and I know each other from 32 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We both met each other at Lincoln Sudbury High School in Sudbury, Massachusetts. We both applied for an international exchange student program and were successful in spending 1 full year in a high school environment called the Lincoln Sudbury Regional High School. And during that 4 year, him and I and two other exchange students had the opportunity and the wonderful experience of living with different exchange families. So if I remember well, Takeshi, we had Maria from Spain, Bruno from Brazil, yourself from Japan, and although I do look Chinese, but I was actually coming from Gabon, Africa, where I grew up. So I am Taiwanese from my background, and I actually spent about 11 years in Africa. So that's where I joined up to Sudbury for that 1 year program.
Mm-hmm. Wow, thank you. And you were born in China or in
I was born
Taiwan?
in Taiwan. In
Taiwan.
Taiwan,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So your first language is Chinese, Mandarin?
Yes, you're right. So I continue speaking Mandarin with my family. So my parents are both only Chinese speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were in Africa, so my first tongue, the language that I know the best, that I write the best in, is French.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went to United States and when I met you during that year, it was the year of immersion, learning English. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, living in Canada, which is a bilingual country,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the capital city in Ottawa and working for the government, I continue to manage and better both official languages of this country, which is French and English.
Mm-hmm. So you're now living in Canada using French and English.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And if I start my personal experience regarding why I went over to the United States, as you said a little bit in your self-introduction, I applied for a international exchange program, which was called EIL, Experiment in International Living. It's a worldwide organization, and I passed the test when I was 15 or 16, and I didn't choose to go to Boston or Sudbury, Massachusetts. The organization decided for me to go to Lincoln Sudbury High School. So when I got the news from the organization saying that I would go to MA, which means Massachusetts, I didn't even know where it was in America, whether it was on the East Coast or West Coast or in the south, or I didn't know anything about the geography. But I just happened to be in Sudbury, and I went to Lincoln Sudbury High School, where I met you, Sylvie. And as you said in your self introduction, we had Maria from Spain as an exchange student also, and Bruno from Brazil. And we are about the same age, probably.
Well, all four of us were attending our junior year, which is the before last year of high school.
Right.
And all four of us were 16 years old.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
mm-hmm. And what motivated you to go to America in the first place?
Well, for those of you who've actually were having a curiosity about understanding a little bit of the African background and the countries,
Sure.
Gabon is a country that is directly under the equator and is one of those sub-area, what we call the sub-Saharan countries. So it's called the Dark Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And those countries were a little bit I would say beautiful in countryside, beautiful in people. However, there's not a lot of a future for anyone who are growing up there. So you can continue to party all your life, or you can choose a serious future.
Mm.
And in that, it means that the parents, once the student or the children are going through high school, they have to decide to send them into another country to study and then to have a better future. So both of them were sent to France.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, my parents were deciding to sending me to Canada. We have families in Canada, and then I met some Peace Corps agent that came to my parents' restaurant because I grew up in a restaurant in a business family.
Oh, I
And
see.
those Peace Corps agent were American young fellows who were going to Africa to help the country and then to help in the remote areas to better, life situation. So those people asked me about, where I want to go and study. And I said I was going to Canada. One of them, specifically Peter Holland, is from Concord, Massachusetts,
Mm-hmm.
and knew very well Lincoln Sudbury High School and knew the program about the exchange student. So he connected us, and then he got me the application package, and then he helped me the entire process through on how to submit our interest. And at that time, I have to tell you that my English was very, very poor. It was the type of English that maybe 4 or 5 years of school with maybe half an hour a week, learning just the grammar and knowing, how to connect the sentences, but the pronunciation was horrible. I was really, really very lucky to be able to go through the whole process. And then, it was half French and then half English kind of a process before, getting landed the acceptance to go for the exchange program.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
once I was,
I don't really remember. If my memory serves me right, you were doing pretty well with your English language at that time, right? I thought so, at least.
it was this is why I wanted to encourage everyone who's curious to be able to at least have an experience of an exchange and specifically an immersion opportunity. And do it when you're young, when you don't have a lot of attachment, when you don't have a family and children or other obligations. It was partially, and I would say a big part of the host families that welcomed us. The first host family, the host mother was so patient in articulating the words and the sentences. I have to tell you, the first month there, it was a huge headache for me. I couldn't understand the TV. I couldn't understand a lot of things. So the conversation were around some really slow and great pronunciation from the mother, and also a lot of gestural kind of a communication, gestural communication from the parents.
Mhm.
I would have to say that we need to, you and I, and also the other exchange student, we need to go into this type of experience with a very open mind. And the fact that we were young and then we were fearless, and then we had like a very great open mind, accepting the other culture. I have to tell you that one day I just woke up after maybe, after the first month of very hard adjustment. I think I just woke up and I'm like, oh my God, I understand everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
and and so yeah, so probably I would say yeah. So
Mhm.
probably that was the image that you were seeing of me, someone who was adapting or adjusting well.
Mhm. And the like a conversational English and school work, like the English language you need for your school work are entirely, not really entirely, but a bit different. So you were okay with both kinds of English, or your daily conversation and your school work? What do you think about those things when you look back?
That is a great question, Takeshi. If I'm thinking back, I can tell you that because I have a curiosity and also probably a better command of spoken English, it was really easy for me to get around. But once you get into the written English, I remember the English class. I remember us being at the junior year, but
Mhm.
still me taking an English class of a 10th grader, which is a sophomore year. So taking a lower level of an English level class to help me, keep up with the rest of the class. Writing essays was pretty difficult
Mhm.
because I'll tell you, when you were leaving your own country, which for me it was Gabon, and then the French language classes, as a 10th grader, as a sophomore, we did not master the capacity to write well yet in that language, and then we jump into another language. So that was quite difficult. That was one of the things that I find was quite difficult. And then I became better and better in English only afterwards, when I went into university and also in my professional life. However, where I find it the most difficult was in math,
Mhm.
because we have a structure in math. We learn the way of doing divisions, for example, and we learn the way of defining some of the mathematical signs that were not spoken the same way in English, that was not presented the same way in English, and that was kind of a hindering my advancement. I would say that if I did not have that type of a challenge, I probably would have taken more math course. I probably would have prepared myself better to go into university years.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, math was okay with me at that time. I took algebra, and I even taught one of the students in that particular class because I don't remember the name of the teacher, but he asked me to teach one particular student in class who was much behind in math.
Wow.
So that was a good opportunity for me to actually speak
Mhm,
English and explain things to someone in English. But
mhm,
the subject of English was way too hard. I
mhm.
mean, I couldn't have done anything without the help of a tutor. I had to write essays and
Did you take a 10th grade English, or did you take an 11th grade English?
actually, I don't remember 10th grade, I guess, because I didn't follow any 11th grade English classes. So I took one from the 11th grade and I decided to drop it.
Mhm.
And or we had many advisors, right, at that
Yes,
time.
I remember we had what we call the North South. East and West House.
House, yes.
And then I believe you and I were under the same advisor under, isn't it the North House or something like that?
I
Maybe
guess
I'm
North,
forgetting.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And I remember our advisor being a gentleman. I forgot his last name, but very nice gentleman who helped us
Mm-hmm.
going through the choices of our classes. Just coming back to that English, you kind of like reminded me of something. On my English course, the one thing, my takeaway that I still remember today is I think it's a book that was written by a Black author. I think Frederick.
Douglas Frederick.
Frederick Douglass, yes, and that was regarding slavery. And I remember that book very, very well. And we had to write an essay with that book, and then I really loved, the lecture, the reading of that book.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. I remember reading One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh goodness, that is a harder book than
Yes,
yes,
written by Ken Kesey, and it was made into a film as well.
yes.
And A Light in August, Faulkner. It was
Then we
just
didn't have
impossible.
the same level English course because mine was a little bit more basic than
I guess
yours.
so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So,
one of the thing I found, now that you're talking about those different level and then the choice of course, see in the European system, which is the French school system, we don't get to choose our classes the way that we did. It was a very flexible type of arrangement where you have, some basic courses that you need to take, and then after that you can take many more others to complement your schedule. But in Africa, which is the program that I was following, which is the French International Bachelor Degrees, it was a restrained kind of like a mandatory schedule. And so that was something that I was really, really admiring in that system in US. And that system actually allowed us to strive in what we chose.
Yeah, I agree with you. And maybe your educational system in Gabon is similar to ours, I guess, because in Japan here also, for example, high school students have almost no rights to choose what he or she wants to take. I mean,
Yeah.
it's already decided. It's ready for them. hmm So I think American system in general looked very appealing to us, very attractive in a way. And also, as we talked about the counselors and advisors, because in Japan we don't have that many advisors or counselors. We usually have one at each school, and usually homeroom teachers deal with all of these things, counseling, homeroom subjects,
Yeah.
club activities, and all that. So the teaching job is really demanding here in Japan. So that's a bit
Oh.
different from the one we saw in Lincoln Sudbury High School.
But I'm pretty sure that your teachers are being probably more respected than what is happening here in North America.
In Japan?
Yes.
Well, maybe.
Maybe a subject for another discussion.
Yeah, yes, that would be very interesting to talk about the differences.
One of the thing I did not share with you because we did not have that many time to discuss
Right.
ever since the past few years is when I came out of university, my first job is a teaching job. I am a certified teacher here in Ontario and in Quebec, so in two of the provinces, and I was specializing in teaching children with learning difficulties, meaning that you have the two spectrum. So it's not the bell curve. So it's not the normal. You are teaching the exceptionally intelligent and the ones that is having a little bit more difficulties to follow the norm. So I taught for 3 years, and I decided to change path of my career because of expectation. I think parents were becoming very, very involved in the children's
Mhm.
education here,
Mhm.
and the children were really hard to manage. They were on medication, some of them, and then really hard to manage.
Yeah, the situation is more or less the same right over here in Japan too. So I didn't know that you are teaching at elementary school, was it?
No, I was teaching at high school.
High school. Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
yes.
So you were mainly teaching students with disabilities in learning, like
On both
reading and all that.
spectrums. So I have the gifted. I
Mm-hmm.
had 2 classes of the gifted,
Mm-hmm.
and I have 2 classes of the ones that have a little bit more adjustment needs.
Oh, okay. Was that something you majored in at college?
I did. I majored in giftedness, and I even studied. That is funny that I completely forgot about that. And today in the discussion with you, I just remember. I even studied some of the Japanese kind of a education system,
Oh.
and it's a very, very nebulous in my mind right now, but I remember it was a specific study on girls
Mm-hmm.
and the way the path of education that they follow, and the type of university specifically dedicated, or program rather, should I say, dedicated for women, because of the society expectation of a woman's role as a mother, and then also later on for families. So that was something that I studied for one of my master's research. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so as you said, if we are to talk about education, we would need a couple of more programs to address the entire
I don't think a couple
problems
will
in
cover it.
yes, and that would be a lot of fun too, because some of my students are interested in becoming teachers, for example, or they
Yes,
want to be even trained as teachers abroad. So that would be a topic that we will uh, look for in our program. And
absolutely.
yeah, also what we did while we were at Lincoln Sudbury High School was we belonged to the choir, and we even went to Toronto to participate in international music festival or something. Do you remember that well?
That was a wonderful experience. We had a teacher called Mr. Feinstein, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Feinstein or Feinstein.
Author.
Then yeah, I actually was an alto in that choir and in the
Oh, you
choral.
were alto. Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes.
I was tenor.
You were a tenor,
Hmm.
and you and I we traveled to Canada,
Yes.
to Toronto,
Hmm.
and I remember we gave performances, and also we attended our first ever, of course, my first ever musical
Hmm.
called Les Miserables.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and the jazz that was wonderful. I remember I was coming out of that representation, and I was crying like
Hmm.
crazy.
Hmm.
But it was a wonderful experience. Yes,
Yes,
we did.
yeah, and the city of Toronto was very beautiful. Although we stayed there for only about 2 or 3 days, 2 days or something, we didn't really
I
have
would
enough
say no
time.
more than 2, yeah, because
Hmm.
the drive up to Toronto, I would say maybe so Boston to here is about 6, 7 hours. I would say maybe 10ish,
Hmm.
maybe 10, 11 hours. So it's a long drive for a bus driver. Yeah, absolutely.
We went there by bus. I don't even remember. Did we
We
use
went there by
train or
bus.
by bus? Okay, from
Yeah, we went
Boston
there by bus.
to
Yeah.
Toronto. Oh, I
I
see.
remember that because we were driving back at night.
Hmm.
And now, honestly, I mean, I completely forgot that for 30 years. And then because you're talking about it now, it's just bringing ribs of memory back into my mind.
Mm.
The chauffeur and Mr. Feinstein were listening to the radio, and they wanted me to tell them the score
Hmm.
for a hockey game.
Hmm.
And the game was actually happening in French. So
Hmm.
they said, Sylvie, come here and listen, and then tell us what they're saying.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was so funny because for someone who grew up in Africa, beside the soccer, which is called football in French,
Hmm.
I was not really aware of other sports. So for me, listening to the scoring in French and translate it correctly, I was kind of looking at Mr. Feinstein. I said, well, what am I translating? He said, just tell us the score. So I had to say, two against 3 for something, for Canada or for whatever group or team was playing at that time.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. As for Mr. Finston, I remember one very interesting episode that we took music also, during the daytime, during the
Yes.
hour, and I wasn't really reading the syllabus very well, or that was because of my poor listening comprehension ability. But I just took the music class, and then I thought it was just it. And then one afternoon, when I came across Mr. Finston, he came up to me and said, "You missed the afternoon after school practice." And I didn't really understand what he was talking about. And I just said, "Well, I did attend the class we had once a week or twice a week, I don't remember. But we were supposed to belong to the choir if you take
Yeah.
the chorus class."
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
very embarrassing, but so I automatically belonged to the choir. But I had a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and we made a lot of friends, and we have acquainted with so many good people, and we also had some gigs or concerts for the
Yeah.
local community.
Yes, we did.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I think we even went to do some really nice performance.
Mhm.
Beautiful, beautiful memories. I mean, stuff that I have completely forgotten if you have not reminded me so.
Mhm. Yes. And we were there from 1989 to 1990, and I think in 1990, right before I left America. You stayed on, but I left after I left there after a year. I think that particular year, Mr. Finston also quit school, and
I don't remember. Maybe some people who are still in the community could tell us the story. I honestly believe that he did not survive. I don't think he's still with us today,
mhm,
but
mhm.
we definitely have to inquire about that. He
Right,
was a very
right.
kind soul. I remember I was traveling with my Taiwanese passport, and I was not allowed in Canada without a proper visa,
Mhm,
like probably others who have the European passport or United States passport. You can just cross border very easily. He actually took on him to drive me to Boston to the Taiwanese consulate, not the Canadian consulate,
mhm.
to get the proper paperwork for us to be crossing the border. He was a very kind soul. So,
Oh, okay.
but I believe something happened to him. I'm not sure.
Mhm,
I need to connect back to the people who are still, who know the history of what happened to
mhm,
him. Yes,
mhm,
absolutely.
mhm. Yeah, and he even directed a musical called The Chorus Line, and that's the one
Yes,
I
yes,
saw
I
uh,
remember. Yes, I
before I
remember.
left there, and after the performance, I shook hands with him and very firmly and said goodbye to each other, and that was a very memorable night that we had with the musical directed by Mr. Finston.
You were very artistic. You were singing, and then you were also participating in plays. And I remember that. It's a
Hmm.
very interesting moment. We were fearless. I mean, 16. It's the age of we're discovering the world, and I would recommend anyone um, to have just a little bit of that fearlessness
Hmm.
in them,
Hmm.
and then be able to discover the world, because those stay with you. Those
Hmm.
experience stays with you for your entire life.
Yeah, that's a good message. I think I'm afraid we are running out of time, and you have another appointment also. You have another meeting too, so I
Please
have to let you go.
do share the picture that we had together
Oh yeah, that's right.
in our experience. We have many pictures, but pretty hard to find. But this one particularly is a wonderful, wonderful. We can end with that, can we?
Can you see this?
No, right now I'm seeing that you have started sharing a screen.
Okay.
I'm looking at a black screen.
How about now? Can you
Just give
see?
it maybe a couple seconds before it goes on. No, oh, here we go.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay, and
Beautiful.
this is you right here,
Yes.
and Maria from Spain, and
Yes.
I'm here wearing strange glasses at the time.
They are not strange. They were very à la mode at that moment.
No, I don't like them. But anyway,
Well, we don't like them today because of a sense of, a sense of fashion today. But
right.
at that time it was, and I remember those students, some of them were 12th graders. So for example, Kira Campbell was a 12th grader, Tina, Michelle and Margaret, they were all 12th graders. And then they were welcoming us as 11th graders. And look at the date up there, Friday, September 22nd, 1989.
1989. Yes,
Yeah.
way back. And was this taken at school building?
No, that was a cookout. So we were, the first week when we arrived, we were invited everywhere to be introduced, I guess, as a, so we can integrate better into the community. And that was a cookout. Yeah.
So that was right after the welcome party or something.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say that school probably start a couple weeks ago because September 22nd will be later. We usually, I would say we start at end of August, something like that. And then, so yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Yes. So I guess I have to bring this session to a successful close by dint of your active participation in and contribution to our program. Would you like to say a few words to our listeners? Your final
Absolutely.
message?
I wanted to say it's a great honor to be able to be sharing some of my most beautiful youth memories with you. One of the things I would say, if ever you get an opportunity, if you don't get the opportunity, seek out an opportunity to participate in an exchange program. They are the best to open your horizon, your mind, your lenses of looking at the world completely change. In my case, particularly, it actually drew a path of my future, and it also determined my choice of career and then what I wanted to do. So I would say go for it. If you have some doubts, don't doubt, just go for it. And also use your professors around you. Someone like Takeshi is full of really great experience. So you can poke his brain and then ask him about, how he actually went through that whole thing. Because you know what? For the past 32 years, Takeshi has been traveling back to North America and visiting, and also dreaming about staying on the side of the Atlantic. So my pleasure, and then also wishing you all the best to everyone.
Yes, thanks very much. That was a really good message to all of them. And well, this concludes today's program. Thanks very much, Sylvie. Nice talking to you again.
My pleasure.